I keep thinking about that moment when Coco draws the magic circle and it actually works. There's this beat where she just stares at it, and I can't tell if she's more terrified or exhilarated.
Hold on, though. That's exactly what worries me about this episode. Because what looks like this huge breakthrough moment? I think it's actually Coco running away from something much scarier than forbidden magic.
Running away? She literally broke the fundamental rule of her world. That's not avoidance. That's
a defense mechanism. Think about it. She's been obsessing over magic her whole life, copying circles from picture books, pretending with bed sheets. The moment real emotional stakes show up, loss, grief, the actual complexity of growing up, she escapes into the one fantasy that's never let her down.
But what if the fantasy is finally becoming real? What does this first episode of Witch Hat Atelier reveal about who Coco actually is?
Alright, so this is essentially Coco's origin story. She's this girl living in a village where magic is everywhere, but completely off limits to her. Only people born as witches can actually cast spells. She spends her time helping her mother run their tailor shop and secretly copying magical diagrams from picture books, dreaming of a world she thinks she can never enter.
The mysterious customer Kifri shows up, and he's clearly a witch, but he's also genuinely impressed by Coco's craftsmanship. There's this whole sequence where he calls her needlework real magic, and you can see how much that means to her.
But here's what I caught on the second watch. He's not just being kind. When he examines her work, there's this moment of recognition in his eyes. Like he's seeing something specific in her precision and focus that goes beyond just skilled hands.
And then, everything explodes. Literally. Coco tries to recreate a magic circle from her picture book. It works. Chaos ensues. Her mother gets turned to stone, and Kifri has to step in to save them both. The episode ends with Coco's world completely shattered and rebuilt in the span of about 5 minutes.
What strikes me is how the episode frames that moment of magical success. It's not triumphant. It's devastating. Her first taste of real magical power immediately costs her everything familiar and safe.
So we're examining how Coco's relationship with magic reveals something fundamental about her character. And I think what we're seeing is someone finally stepping into genuine agency for the first time in her life.
Whereas I think we're watching someone double down on the moment reality gets too painful to face. The magic isn't empowerment. It's the ultimate avoidance strategy. Let's ground this in what actually happens. There are 3 key moments that build to Coco's transgression. First, there's that early sequence where she's doing laundry on the rooftop and sees the Pegasus carriage arrive. Watch how she immediately drops everything practical to chase after this glimpse of the magical world.
Then you have that extended scene with Kifri in the shop, where he's examining her needlework with this intense focus. "This is real magic," he tells her, and she completely falls apart. No, magic is way more mysterious and sparkly." But there's something in how he looks at her work that suggests he sees potential she doesn't recognize in herself.
And finally, the transgression itself. After everyone leaves, after her mother goes to sleep, Coco sits alone by candlelight, copying magical diagrams from her picture book. She's been doing this for who knows how long. But this time it actually works.
I think we need to start with what magic actually represents for Coco, because it's not just power, look at her life. She's a skilled craftsperson in a world that considers her fundamentally limited by birth.
But that's exactly my point about the seat. Magic doesn't represent agency to Coco. It represents escape from having to develop real agency.
I'd push back on that. When Kifri examines her work, he's recognizing that the same qualities that make her exceptional at needlework are the qualities that would make her exceptional at magic. Precision, focus, respect for the craft.
But look at Coco's reaction. She can't accept that her existing skills have value. Magic is way more mysterious and sparkly. She needs magic to be completely separate from her ordinary abilities.
Her reaction isn't about avoiding responsibility. It's about someone who's been told her whole life that she's fundamentally limited, finally being seen by someone who recognizes her potential.
But she doesn't rise to meet that recognition. Instead of asking Kefri what he means, she retreats to her room and tries to recreate magic from a picture book.
Or she's choosing to test whether what he said could possibly be true. That happens because she's finally willing to risk everything to find out if she really does have magical potential.
But the moment real consequences hit, her mother's transformation, the chaos, she completely shuts down. Kefri has to do everything.
That's shock, not avoidance. Her entire worldview just got demolished in about 30 seconds.
But here's the moment that reframes everything for me. It's not when the magic works. It's the aftermath. When Kefri finds her in the ruins and makes his choice to take her with him.
See, and that's exactly why I think this episode is about genuine growth. Because she doesn't just get rescued, she gets offered a choice. Stay in the wreckage of her old life, or step into a world where her transgression becomes the foundation for something new.
But does she actually make that choice? Or does Kefri make it for her? Because from what I can see, she's still in shock, still overwhelmed, still not engaging with the reality of what her actions have caused.
I think you're underestimating what it takes to accept that offer. Her entire sense of self was built around being someone who could never access magic legally. Alright, here's what I'm betting on. By episode 4, we're going to see Coco confront the real consequences of what she's done. Not just the immediate chaos, but the deeper implications of being someone who broke the fundamental rules of her society.
I'm going the opposite direction. I think the next few episodes are going to show Coco falling back into familiar patterns the moment the magical world makes real demands on her.
But that's assuming she learned nothing from what just happened. The transgression cost her everything familiar and safe. Someone who's experienced consequences that severe isn't going to casually repeat the same mistakes.
Unless the consequences weren't actually severe enough to break the pattern. She lost her old life, sure, but she gained access to the things she wanted most. So here's what I think this first episode establishes about Coco. She's someone who spent her entire life developing extraordinary discipline and skill in service of a fantasy. And now the fantasy is real, but the discipline and skill, those were always real too.
Which means the question isn't whether she can handle magic, it's whether she can handle reality. The reality that power comes with genuine consequences. That getting what you want doesn't solve the problem of figuring out who you want to be.
And I think that's what makes this such a smart pilot. Because it doesn't actually resolve whether Coco's magical awakening represents growth or just a more elaborate form of the same escapism.
Next episode, we find out which kind of story this is going to be, and more importantly, which kind of person Coco is going to choose to become when the real work begins. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit like and subscribe for more anime episode breakdowns like this one.